Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man. Oh yes. I always say so many yeses in the beginning of these episodes. My name is Joe.
And I'm Carolyn.
And you are listening to Carolyn and Joe Show number 9. Episode number 9, Podcember. 31 days of podcasting. Carolyn and Joe Show every single day in December. We're bringing this to you live on Facebook at this very moment. So if you have any questions on Facebook, let us know. We'll answer them. We'll do whatever you want and in answering form. But also wherever you want to, leave us a question, leave us an answer. We don't have any number you can text us to. But just so you guys know, my name is Joe Carabeo. I'm a filmmaker, photographer, a writer, a musician. But today, I'm a podcaster revolutionary. And across from me, my fellow revolutionary, in her soundproof booth, in her creative bubble, in the chamber of secrets, the greatest mind that has ever lived. Her name is Carolyn Belefski. How you doing, Carolyn?
I'm doing good.
Awesome.
I'm excited because we are going to receive snow, I've heard.
Snow!
So it should be coming anytime now.
It's coming up,
2
man.
to 4 inches.
2 to 4 inches of snow. I guess it's winter. Winter is happening now.
But you know what's really going to be hit hard?
What?
Waldorf Worldwide.
What?
Yeah, I heard Waldorf's going to be hitting the snow big time. And I thought of Good Charlotte.
Any reason for you to bring up Good Charlotte, you're going to bring up Good Charlotte.
No,
you were like, I was thinking about guitars. And then Good Charlotte came up there.
No, seriously, I'm like listening to WTOP for the weather, and then they're like, doing
Waldorf.
the whole forecast, and then they mentioned Waldorf, and I was like, Good Charlotte. That's just how my brain works.
Let's just any reason to bring up Good Charlotte, Carolyn will bring up a reason for Good Charlotte on this show, anywhere on this show.
Anywhere, so not just on the show. I think anytime. Like, I'm just like, oh, by the way, Good Charlotte.
So 31, we've been doing this 31 days of podcasting every single day for since the beginning of December. It's crazy because I only had that idea like the day before December.
We have been recording all the shows that air like the night before.
Yeah.
So yeah, it literally, and also the way you came about it was just like, hey, we're gonna do it now. Well, like it was pretty much like there's no notice, there was no like pre-planning. And then the second day we had our logo. I'm like, I guess I should make a logo.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing because I was sitting in line in Chipotle before we were gonna record a podcast because you were telling me like we should record a podcast. It's been a while, but then I was like just sitting there at Chipotle, or not sitting, but standing there, and I was like, okay, I have this idea, and here we are, 31 days of podcasting. I
think it's a great idea. I don't think other people. I have encouraged people to do it. If like I know we're still on a little bit like I guess day 9. Maybe there's not quite enough time to catch up on those shows, but like I'm down for anyone that wants to record their own podcast and just jump on the train now and use hashtag Podcember, because like I'm not saying like it has to be a big movement or something like that, but I feel like it could encourage people to get into podcasting, and I think it's a cool thing. I think it's a cool title that you've named. So
in the past couple of 24 hours or 48 hours, I wouldn't say that I've been like in a bad brains kick. Like, I go through those paths of just when things are rendering on my computer, I need to like watch something, you know what I mean? And a lot of times when I'm rendering this show, when that thing has to go out, I watch something. So I'm not just watching a bar that goes across the screen, which is
that's
torture. But like for somehow I didn't stumble upon it. I was like, I wonder what the history of the bad brains is. You know what I mean? And they had like this first, because before Sonic Highways, a great documentary series on HBO that was produced and directed by Dave Grohl, did a section on DC, his hometown, his musical hometown, and of course they had a section on the Bad Brains. And what was missing of that was...
You know what was missing of that? I can tell you right
now. No. It's Good Charlotte. Why was it? I remember.
They should have just mentioned them for like a second.
I remember when you're watching that, you're like, are you telling me Good Charlotte wasn't good enough to be in this documentary?
No,
it's not an important band to be in the
beginning.
Sonic Highways.
In the beginning of like the first like 20% of it, they hit on like very quickly other musical acts that came from DC. Like one was like the Sunshine whatever band that goes like sky rockets in flight, afternoon delight. Like they hit on that and like a couple other acts and stuff. I'm like, cool, they're all from DC. But then I'm like, dude, just throw in Good Charlotte there for like 2 seconds.
just a bit, just a little bit.
I mean,
they are a big band.
I would be happy with just that. but like there was no reference. I was like,
So when you're watching that, you're like instantly Dave Grohl's choices in music for DC is not credible.
I mean, I don't want to be against Dave Grohl because he's a pretty cool guy, but I just thought that they could have thrown in there an extra 3 seconds of Good Charlotte.
But they did not.
I don't know, man. Maybe he just like, oh, they're Maryland.
Like, it's funny, they didn't even have them being interviewed either.
No, it's fine if they're not interviewed, but I think they should have been in that section where they had like the other artists from DC.
If
it was just like a quick little like snapshot of like, psh, 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 these people.
They should have at least been interviewed then, right? Don't you think they should have at least been interviewed?
I think they should have, at minimal, just been included in that.
Do they rep DC or do they represent Maryland? Because they quote Maryland a whole lot.
I know, but don't they have like?
Because there was like Maryland, walking on the streets of Maryland.
No, it's walking on the streets of DC on the East Coast where I live. So like, there's that, and they also played 9:30. I don't know, man.
We would all love to play 9:30 as well.
Just saying. Sorry, Dave Grohl. You should have put in some GC.
But so, like, I was watching that documentary, and then, or I was thinking about that documentary.
So what was the other thing that's wrong with that documentary?
The other thing that's wrong?
Yeah, because that's how you brought it up. You're like, there's this one thing that's missing.
Yeah. So when I was watching this documentary,
I brought up.
So when I was watching this documentary, you know, and they had interviews with the Bad Brains, but what was missing was their lead singer, HR, and the Bad Brains are, you know, one of the you know the great founders and originators.
What's his name? Human Resources.
Yeah.
Every time.
Human Rights. I believe it's Human Rights or something like that.
Is that really his name?
HR.
Yeah.
Well, it's like they all had like nicknames. You know, the history is probably gonna escape me right now. It's not up to date. But it was like one was like Dr. No. I think it was either the bassist, guitarist.
Dr. No. That's
pretty
cool.
They all had names, and like at HR he went by like Throat. They all had like cool. They all had like names. It's like punk. You know, it's like hardcore punk rock back then, or before them. It was like their Bad Brains was like the originator, one of the originators of that, the energy of that. But it came from HR, the front man too. He was like the most insane. We're talking like, you know, like that type of hardcore punk. You know. Mm-hmm. So you know, and I was like, oh, HR. Why is HR not on this? Why is he not there? And like I started
HR puffing stuff.
Yeah, why is HR puffing stuff? Yeah, but why was why is their front man not there?
Yeah, where is he?
And so I started to do like research. You know, of course I was like, okay, there must be something there. And so I started doing research and checking like, you know, what was going on, and like apparently I guess some people are saying like he had some mental problems or he was insane. That's what I've heard. Something like that. Like there's a bunch of, like they're like he's just insane or he doesn't like to do that. Yeah. And so I was trying to find the truth, and then I stumbled upon I saw an interview with him with HR, and I've never heard HR like talk before. But I always imagined how he would talk because you know it's a guy in the lead singer of the Bad Brains, and he sings like.
Can you actually understand the lyrics?
I don't. Attitude PMA. We got that attitude. We got that PMA. That's how
positive mental attitude.
That's how they would spit that out. And so like when I was like you know like doing the Wikipedia on the Bad Brains, and then I found that interview, and then it was like an interview with an older HR, and he didn't have a beard or anything like that. And then they were asking him questions, and the way he would talk was like. Yes, sir. That's a very nice question. Yes, indeed.
So like it was like almost broken like, Matt Hardy or something.
It was almost like a gentleman broken Matt Hardy. Like if he came from like
gentleman Jack Gallagher.
Like if he was like it was like as if he was like sipping tea like forever. Like
what?
This is a beautiful day, isn't it? Yes, it's a very great day. Are you having a great day? Yes, Rastafari. I was like, what? I was like, so this is...
Maybe that's how he always was.
So I don't know. I didn't get a chance to look at that. And I was like, so this is the lead singer of the Bad Brains? Like, yeah, like this super positive, chill... But like I was like, but why was he not in the documentary if he acts like that? I don't know. But like, I was like, because he was like talking like... you have to remember, as long as you don't have violence, everything's okay.
So he talked
Don't you know what I'm saying?
He talked like Miss Cleo?
I don't know how Miss Cleo talks, but it was like that.
She's like Jamaican, and she's like, oh, I'm going to predict that sounds too Asian.
And see, that's the
I need to perfect my Miss Cleo. She was just like, I see good things in your future.
But that's the funny thing about like the Bad Brains. At least when I was watching, because then I saw that interview, right? And then the guy asked HR. He was like, "So did you watch the documentary Abandoned DC about the Bad Brains? How did you feel about that?" It's like, "Yes, I watched that. That was a very nice film. It was a fabulous film, actually. I really enjoyed the film. But maybe they didn't show us in the best light, but we're not in control of that. It's a beautiful thing." And then he just like travels off, and it's like this. It's pretty amazing. It's almost, I don't know. Sometimes you meet crackheads that are like.
Do you think he's putting on an act? Because like I've also heard, Madonna. She has like her British accent. She kind of like puts on this act of like, oh, I'm sipping tea and I'm Madonna.
Oh, so when I was watching at that point, like one of the films on the side, like on YouTube, you can see the films on the side, like, or other films they recommend.
Suggested.
So the suggested films, and then this one of the suggested films was actually the documentary they were talking about, Abandoned DC, like the Bad Brains documentary. So I just watched. I started just watching it from the beginning, and I was like, really, I had to go to work. Like I had to leave like in 30 minutes. I should be getting ready now, but then I had to like keep watching it. I was like, this is amazing.
Got sucked into it.
This is so amazing because you get to see how the Bad Brains start, and actually the first scene in that film was crazy for me because like it's one of those filmmaking techniques where you have like the ending first, and then you have a reason, it pulls you see the end of the film, and then the movie builds itself back up to it.
Like what's gonna happen. Like Jackie.
You know what they're heading up to.
Titanic.
But like the first thing you see is HR on stage and everyone else rocking out, but HR is just like standing there, and then he sits at the drum set. And then everyone's like booing, like the crowd's like booing because he's not like performing at all. And like in my head, I was like, oh, he's not going crazy. Like this is me watching him like as an older one. I thought he'd be going crazy as the older HR, but he wasn't. He was just sitting there, not doing anything. Like and then and then everyone's like booing because he's not performing. And then it cuts to Dr. No. I believe Dr. No like yelling at him in the back, saying like, if you don't want to play or not, don't waste these people's money. Like, you're a saboteur, man. You're just trying to sabotage us. You're trying to sabotage us. And also, you're a freaking sellout. You motherfucking sellout, dude. You sold freaking out. As he's like yelling right in his face, like pointing at him. You can't make those kids waste their money like that. They came and earned their hard ass money. You go and stand there and not want to perform. He's like, well, screw you. Don't even talk to me again. Don't even call me with none of your bullshit. Don't even do that. You're freaking sellout.
Why do you think HR was acting like
that?
And
then HR was just like sitting like, with his guitar like on a couch, and he was just sitting there just like taking it, like just smiling like nothing even matters, and like the whole time like people were like even on the exit door, and they're just like Dr. No's like on the pathway, so I'm like, he's a sellout, man. He's like, and he was pointing at other people. It's like, that motherfucker's a sellout. HR's a fucking sellout. And then it cuts right to the beginning of the documentary. I was like, damn, this thing's gonna be awesome.
Oh my goodness. What do you think happened to him? Did he get like his brain messed up by like Hopkins lab or something?
Well, it's crazy because you watch they have a pretty insane story because it's not like it feels like they had so much not like every band has like its struggle, you know what I mean? Like in the beginning of the story, the beginning of the film, they were talking about like, they didn't really the band members, like, they're part of other bands like jazz fusion. They all knew how to play, you know what I mean? But then they fell into this punk rock scene, but they wanted to play faster and better and more technical than everyone else. So that was what was mainly different between Bad Brains was, the punk rock attitude was like, we don't really know how to, we don't need to know how to play, we really don't need to know how to play. We just play with the, what the three chords we got, right? Mm-hmm. And play as fast as possible. But then the Bad Brains, they knew how to play. And their idea was to take that idea of punk rock and then play as fast as they can. So it was like competitive for them. It's like, we can play as fast as you can, and this guy will sing and spin as fast as we can and be the most hardcore punk rock thing ever. And they did.
You know what it reminds me of? At the end of those radio ads where they have like the legal... It's like the legal disclaimer.
But like, well, it's crazy is because HR, like, no matter how fast the song, HR was moving, like, jiving, like, just absolutely losing his mind as fast. I remember, like, they were saying, like,
maybe his brain just got fried out.
They were saying, like, in the beginning of the documentary, they would say, like, it wasn't even until, like, the first song or even halfway into the first song, HR is already in the crowd going crazy. And he'll do backflips on the stage, and he'll do all this insane stuff. And you're watching this, and you're like, to me, I was watching, I was like, man, this is mind-blowing. This is like, I was like, you have him, and then you have Iggy Pop, the most insane, like, front people of all time.
So did they ever get down to what happened to him?
Well, they don't really break down what, in the documentary, they don't really break down, like, oh, this happened to him. It's just sort of...
Like, why did he turn into, like, a British woman?
Well, for one part, like, one of the managers they had, you know, actually, like, got them a house in the middle of, like, the woods in Virginia, you know? They're like,
Northern Virginia, or where? Do you know where?
Northern Virginia, I guess, I assume. Because they had to be close to DC, because that's where they play. And, like, it was like, I forget what it was, but they said, like, one summer, the Bad Brains disappear, and then they come back, and all of a sudden, they're like Rastafari. So, like, they go from, like, being a punk rock, like, this hardcore punk rock, and then this manager that what's it called, that, like, you know, managed them for, like, a few years, got them a house so they can practice and focus, because I don't think they had any place to live or anything like that. So now they can just focus and play music. And I feel like that's when they discovered Bob Marley in the house. So all of a sudden, like, they went 100% into Rastafari, being a Rastafarian. And because I feel like I think from what HR said, like, in the documentary, he was like, yeah, people thought that was the equivalent of, like, being like a terrorist, like it was an African terrorist or something like that. But it's really different. And, you know, because back then that was completely, like, that reggae scene and all that was completely fresh or unknown at that time. Mm-hmm. So they took that, and that made them closer. But then all of a sudden they started talking like Rastafarians. That's what I'm saying. All of a sudden they're like, "Oh, what's up, man? We got to get the Rastafari." You know, all of a sudden it's like all of a sudden the summer, because they had story like
all of them were doing that.
Yeah. And then they would come in, like, because I guess they disappeared for a whole summer and then came back into the DC scene, and all of a sudden they have all these people, all these other Rastafarians, like, coming with them to, like, the clubs and stuff like that, to, like, the hardcore punk clubs. Mm-hmm. And, like, Ian MacKaye was like, what's going on? All of a sudden, like, they're all, like, talking to Rastafarians and stuff like that. So they just, like, they changed that gimmick, but they still kept with the speed and tempo, but then they would include, like, that the sort of the groove, the reggae style,
like bongos.
Yeah, or bongo. I don't know about the.
I don't know. Don't they have, like, bongos and the steel drums and stuff?
But there were so many crazy
Did they
stories.
Include that? Like that type of, like, island sound?
No. It's just the same. You know, it's like, it's reggae. You know, like, you know how it is, because a lot of reggae. Because even, like, the Clash was throwing a little bit of that in there too. But it was crazy because, like, I don't really understand what happened to HR. It's like, just all of a sudden he just sporadically, his mental status would just like he would just start he would just gradually just lose sense of like reality. You know, it's crazy because
how old is he now?
I mean they're older now.
Would you say 60s?
Yeah, probably in that range. But they were talking about, like, they said, like, I think it was like maybe like the like one day they got invited to the Beach Boys, but the Beastie Boys tour, right? Mm-hmm. And HR didn't want to go on stage because someone, like, he said, like, someone didn't approach him properly, and, you know, they were like, and then all, like he was, like, really adamant about not leaving the bus. He did not want to leave the bus because maybe someone didn't shake his hand properly or someone didn't do this. Then all of a sudden he got violent and started, like, beating up everyone on the bus, like his band members and stuff like that. But then you hear, like, the interview, the interviewer, like, would ask him that question, like, what happened on that bus? Or, like, why did you get violent? And he was like, well, you know, sometimes, you think you're clear of these things, but then the spiders come out. Like, I can see them, but you can't see them. But then I see them. They're everywhere.
Spiders.
They're all over the place. Like, you can flip the page, you see nothing, but it's actually there. And sometimes
maybe he was attacking spiders.
And this is how I have to react, Okay, next question.
What, he really said it like that?
Yeah. Okay, next question, please. I gotta show you this afterwards. It's really. I gotta literally. God. Hold on, maybe I can hook it up.
I mean, if you can't get it, then that's fine right now. But wow, I mean, you know what it kind of reminds me of? The Chili Peppers was what's his face from the Chili Peppers, the guitarist John Frusciante. Yeah. There's like a few interviews where he's like totally, I guess, drugged out, and he's like talking about like the sky. And
he's obviously on drugs because
the sky is always blue. And he just starts talking about that.
There's a time where HR, like, where they're recording an album, like in, I think, Massachusetts or something like that. I forget where it is, but they're like, okay, it's time for you to record your vocals. You gotta do this. He's like, I got to go. Like in a few hours. It's like, why do you gotta go? I gotta go back. I gotta go to DC. I gotta. Something happened. I was selling marijuana, and then I had to. They arrested me, so now I have to go to jail for 6 months. And they're like, can you record your vocals in 2 hours?
Oh my god. Well, that's crazy. Yeah, that's a little crazy. I have heard, like, I don't know that much about Bad Brains, but I've heard of them, obviously, by being in the DC area, and I know of some comic book artists who have done a couple books and stories about them, and I also know that they have influenced a lot of the acts in the DC area. They've influenced not just DC area, but so many.
Look at Rage Against the Machine, because we're talking about that too. Even Dave Grohl was saying the drumming that he has.
Yeah, they've influenced a lot of other popular bands that are more mainstream.
The Thunderbirds was our first group that we were in. It was about 1964. I was about 9 years old, 9 or 10 years.
Get to the part where he talks about spiders. That's what I want to hear.
We gave it a try, and the kids loved it. So that's what we decided that we did.
He doesn't really sound British, though.
The PMA.
We're trying to find.
Wait, I wanted to hear what they were talking about the PMA, man. Now I'm like, I need to hear that part.
Very cool. How do you feel things have changed in the underground since you were younger up until today?
Audience is a lot more intellectual, a lot more open-minded. In the early days, they were very one-sided views.
I gotta find
the interview with the spiders. The spider one? Is that what you're looking for?
I'm trying to. Yeah. Well, let's get all mixed up here. I gotta go to the YouTube.
Yeah. Wow. But Bad Brains, I don't really know too much about. I mean, I know about PMA. I know certain. I really can't tell you that much about them, but I just know that they're okay. So being in the DC area, I'm gonna meet a lot of people around here, and there's a couple older guys I know that are. I call them old punkers. But it's they've actually been to those Bad Brain shows where they were, I guess, on top of the world,
Yeah.
And I hear about them talking about them now, and they're just yeah, I guess the lead singer or something is wrong with him. I think he has a mental problem or something. That's pretty much what I hear from my word on the street.
Are you excited about this movie being made about you?
Oh yes, we're excited about all our developments. But, as always, what we like to encourage people to remember is it's not what a person can do in violence, but it's what they can do in love.
Okay. He just stops talking like that.
Next question, please, sir.
What? Oh my.
This is how it starts.
I mean, I seriously want to hear about the spiders though.
I hope I never have to see your ass again.
Oh, that was...
It's no good. I can't believe it. All these years, finally get away from this shit. So good luck with your life, man. And don't be calling my house and shit talking about this and that and that, because I see you coming to sabotage shit. You're a sellout. I'm telling you that. And I hope I never have to see your ass again.
It's kind of sad.
That's the beginning of it. But, you know, as you can tell, that voice was different than what I was expecting. It's like, yes. It's very nice.
But did he always talk like that?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird.
But it made me really sort of sad because, like,
but maybe he's like all peaceful, you know.
But it made me sad because in the beginning, like, he's all crazy, you know, and like you're like, what? That's the greatest show I've ever seen. And then later on, like in the later shows, like he's really just not moving. He's literally just standing there and just saying the words like really chilled out, as opposed to like then he's like. I'm like, what the hell is that?
So
I would be upset about that too.
That's really weird.
So that's what so that's where I've been at. I've been watching that. Or I finished it.
Do you think like something actually happened though to his like mental stability?
I don't know. Is that what Rastafarianism happens? That when you're a Rastafarian, do you just get really chill and not care anymore?
But maybe he like fried his brain out with like drugs so much that like he just can't like physically do what he used to be able to do with the fast speed.
Pretty impossible to do that forever too.
Well, there's that, but
that's
then
like
also
that's since like 79.
But also since he's like so chill and he's like so warped that maybe he like took so much drugs.
He's all positive too. So like, oh yes,
and,
yes, Rastafari.
Next question, please.
Rastafari.
Like, do you think that maybe he took so much of it? Like, maybe he's just, like, always on it.
I remember he's, like, just, there's so many stories of him being not dependable, too. Like, he's really sporadic and really just, like, you can't control what he's gonna do. Like, you're like, I need you to make it to the show at 10 o'clock. Like, you need to catch this flight and you make it here. And he's like, yes. Well, somehow I missed the plane.
God.
Somehow the plane did not come. Is that okay?
Jeez.
It's like, how do you yell at someone like that? Because if he's always, it doesn't seem like a person that like will fight back. It's just like, okay, I see you are mad. Okay, well let's not be mad. It's like, what?
I kind of in a way wish I could be more chill like that though. Like I'm not saying that he's like my hero or anything like that, but there is something to being chill that it's almost like respectable in terms of like, man, they like really don't care. You know, like I wish I didn't care about things because then I could just relax.
But it would make me mad just to be like, oh, they're just standing there. You know what I mean? I'm just
Wouldn't
like,
you feel bad if you're like in a green room though, and all these people did spend money to go see you?
Yeah.
And you're just like, whatever.
Well, especially if you're the bandmate, like you're the guy that's putting all the stuff together, and then your front man now just like doesn't care or anything like that, and just stands there, not putting on like the show, you know, that they're giving the money's worth, or at least trying to put on something that means something.
Do you think he cares though? Like he was there.
He doesn't seem like he cares.
But he was physically there, like in the backstage.
I like
he somehow made his way there, so that's like the first step.
But doesn't put any effort to. I don't know. That's why it's a weird situation with that. It's just like, is he just?
Or is it like
really
somebody
chill?
That like, you know, like they go to the gym, they're like, I'm gonna work out, but then they end up like just sitting there.
Yeah, just walking around a bit.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm just gonna sit at this like bike. I'm not gonna really do it though.
Because I remember, that's the thing is, I do remember like when I was younger, or even a couple years ago, where I was like, oh man, the Bad Brains are playing. I heard they were crazy, and then to see if I were to go to that show to see that's what it would be, like everyone else rocking out, but then like the lead singer sort of like literally would just stand there. I'll be like, what the you know, that's such a crucial position.
That's pretty crazy, man.
Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
I don't know. I just feel like there's no solution there. Like we don't know like why he acts like that now.
Well, it's an interesting story because you always...
But did they actually answer it, or they're just like
no? Because he was just like, they just said that they said like, oh, he left the band again, and then a couple months later he came back, because they would say that's the crucial element. The chemistry of the Bad Brains is those four guys. So they can't like escape that. No matter who they tried other people, but no matter what, he is those four are the Bad Brains. So you can't really.
Yeah, that's how it usually is. That original setup. That's how it works.
But it made me sad. It was also interesting too.
But that's probably why Dave Grohl didn't really want to. I'm not saying he didn't want to.
Maybe he just didn't show up.
Or maybe maybe they're like, oh yeah, he said he was gonna come, but he didn't show. Like, I guess he missed his flight.
I guess he just missed his flight, dude.
Who knows? I don't know, but it's definitely odd.
But yeah, definitely you guys go on YouTube and watch a Bad Brains show from like the CBGBs in New York or in DC, like in the early 80s or late 70s, and then go watch one from like the 2000s or like even 2011 or something like that. You'll see a huge difference. Not that they're old, but just sort of just like there's a, you're just like, okay, so what happened? You know what I mean? But that's how the bands are.
When was their last show?
I don't know when their last show was. I don't know when the last show was, but the documentary wasn't that far ago. It wasn't that long ago. So it's close. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Carolyn and Joe Show, Podcember number 9. You guys are listening to the song in the background. Run by Monday Mistress. Go on to MondayMistress.com and download this song.
And the guy who helped to produce your album, did he?
Yes.
He worked with the Bad Brains, right?
The engineer and producer of our album recorded the first album of the Bad Brains. So that's why this is linked together.
That's awesome.
That's how it goes. They have so many stories about that. Man. Oh, man. Yeah.
So if you like this song, go to MondayMistress.com
and download it. Don Satira, Inner Ear Studios. That's where this song was recorded, and the Bad Brains recorded the first album there. So there you go.
Connections.
So this show is brought to you by Astray Productions. Check them out at AstrayProductions.com. Check out my work, Joe Carabeo, at JoeCarabeo.com. GoAstray.tumblr.com. Find me on social media at AstrayJ, at JoeCarabeo_photography. What do you got, Carolyn?
Oh, I have a website. It's CarolynBelefski.com. And I'm also on the socials. You can see me on Twitter, Instagram, all those fun things. I'm at Carolyn Belefski.
And of course, CarolynandJoeShow.com, iTunes, Stitcher Radio. Find us, track us down, ask us any questions. All over the place as much as we can.
And leave a review if you can on iTunes, because that helps people find this show.
Absolutely. And we're going to see you tomorrow. Until 2008. Because my name is Joe.
And I'm Carolyn.
Be excellent to each other.
You're bona fide.